Welcome to this episode of Mainline Connect. Our guest today is Glenna Stone of Glenna Stone Interior Architecture and Design. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Thanks for coming on today. I'm so excited to talk to you because, you have such a great aesthetic and I love your business and, you're just such a wonderful businesswoman. I think a lot of people can really benefit from your expertise. And we like to start the show with a networking topic that can help, kind of the greater community, small business owners. And I know one of the things that I've heard you talk about, which I thought would be great to go into today, is kind of strategic partners and things like that for your business.
Right.
So, in the course of your networking to grow your business, how have you managed to find good strategic partners?
Right. Yeah, I think it's a great question because I think when a lot of people think about networking and a lot of people that might start to get into networking for their business, I think they think of it as kind of a direct line to get a client.
Sure.
And really, networking is so all-inclusive in your business. And I would say that networking has really helped me grow my business, by those strategic partners. So for me, it's general contractors, builders, architects, residential and commercial realtors.
Okay.
And, really kind of targeting networking groups that allow me to interact with those kind of what I kind of call my power circle people to help develop my business. And the other area that it's really kind of developed my business is also networking with other interior designers.
Okay.
It sounds probably kind of odd, and I think some people are kind of scared of the competition aspect of it, but I go to High Point Furniture Market in the spring and the fall, which is in North Carolina, where there's literally thousands and thousands of vendors, and it's an opportunity for designers and retailers to see what trends are out there, see new lines for some of the manufacturers that they work with, and also kind of get introduced to new lines. And so it's a lot of interior designers down there. And through that, I've met, interior designers in New York, in California, in DC, in Boston, and they've really become such a great network for me.
Yeah.
Because if something comes up or I have a question on terms of how is something handled or, a situation that's come up, they're a phone call or a text away, and we're all really great about sharing information. And that has been instrumental in growing my business. Absolutely. I have a mentor now in New York City who has her own business.
Okay.
And our businesses are very similar. And she's just been amazing at kind of helping me just grow and continue to make really good strategic decisions about my business.
I think you brought up some great points because I think, like you said at the beginning, a lot of people look at networking as I'm going to find a sale or I'm going to close a deal, and they forget about some of these other aspects that you're talking about, which is using your network to grow your strategic partners so that you have that inner circle of experts and people to refer to and to collaborate with. And then, your competition, which I think a lot of people are kind of leery about friending their competition, but the reality is that you need people as resources to pick up the phone and ask questions, and I'm doing this project, what do you think?
Absolutely.
And, I think people kind of overlook that aspect of networking, and I think it's so, like you said, so important to grow your business. And then the mentorship aspect too. I think that can be really super helpful. I know that's worked well for me as well. I don't have a designated mentor, but there are certainly many people in the last couple of years I've reached out to and said, this is what I'm trying to do. Do you have any advice for me?
Right.
And you need a network to do that. It's
you do.
Yeah. So.
And for interior design, every project I do, while there's a lot of similarities, they're all very different. So. It's just nice to have those people that I know that may have been in a similar situation and to talk to them about how they handled it or how they moved forward or, just things like now I'm growing my business nationally and thinking about how I'm selling outside of state and taxes and things that are go along with kind of growing a national business. So it's just been, I think mentorship and kind of developing those strategic partners has been instrumental in growing my business.
Sure. No, it sounds that way. So what about referrals? So, a lot of people, ask for referrals, and I'm sure, you hopefully haven't had a lot of the experiences, but I'm sure we've all had that experience. I know I have, where you make a referral and it doesn't work out. Either somebody, is not happy with the services, or maybe somebody doesn't get back to the person in a timely manner, and you feel like it's a reflection on you. So, always, anytime you make a referral, it's really a reflection on you, and you have to be choosy about the referrals that you make. How do you kind of go about that selection process?
Right. Yeah, I think it's a great question because nobody wants to be in that situation where you refer someone out and they don't do a good job, they don't get back to them, or the person that you refer them to is just not happy. I take that extremely personally, and of course, there's situations that happens to all of us.
Yeah.
I really have a policy where I don't refer anyone out that I haven't worked with professionally or that I know personally. And I think the key is just transparency. If I refer someone out, I say, I've worked with this person in this capacity or, on X amount of projects, and they've done a really great job. I think that you should put them on your list as someone to call.
Okay.
Because I think really, everyone that gets a referral, I'm not saying call this person, you should do business with them. I'm
Sure.
saying call this person, I think that they're a good fit for what you're looking for. And on the flip side, if I haven't done work with them, but I might know them through a networking organization or an industry organization, I'm just transparent, and I say, I haven't done professional work with them, but I do know them through XYZ organization, and I think they're at least worth a phone call to see if you guys would be a good fit. Because I feel like that is kind of just a way of passing along the information, and that I already know, I know them as a person, so
Sure.
I feel good about recommending them because I know that they're a good person. But then just being transparent about my relationship.
Yeah, no, I think that's so important because there is such a difference between working with people personally and, a friendship or a personal
Right.
level. You hope that it'll be the same kind of what you see personally as what you see business, but it isn't always.
Exactly.
And it's important to put that up front. I think the transparency aspect is such a great point that you brought up.
Yeah.
So let's get into a little bit kind of how you got where you are.
Yeah.
So, you have an engineering background, but ultimately you decided to pursue a graduate degree in interior design. So did you have aspirations to be an engineer? Or?
I went to school. My undergraduate is in engineering from Lehigh, and it was
Okay.
in industrial engineering, which
Okay.
is very manufacturing based. And ultimately, out of school, I went into, I was a management consultant for PricewaterhouseCoopers.
Okay.
And really in the consumer products industry. And when I left and decided to change careers, I was working for Gillette, who was newly acquired by Procter & Gamble at the time. And I was the North America promotions manager for Oral-B.
Okay.
And I really, at the time, I had just, I was feeling a creative void in my current career, and it really just started off for fun. I started taking all kinds of classes, photography and cooking, and I ended up, we were living in Boston at the time, and Rhode Island School of Design is in Providence. It's like an hour away. And I said, I'm going to sign up for this class at night. So I was doing all of this, on the weekends and in the evenings. And it was a 3-hour class I would drive down to every Wednesday evening.
After work?
After work, right.
Okay.
And then, in the weekends, I'd be doing my homework and putting together presentation boards. And from the first class I took there, I just fell in love with interior design because I started really understanding a lot more about the profession.
Okay.
And how it's really, for me, it was that perfect marriage of creative and technical, which is what I really was aspiring to kind of have in my professional life. Mm-hmm. The second class I took there was a lighting design class, and there were so many parallels to my electrical engineering classes because you're really kind of getting into the nuts and bolts of lighting and how to illuminate a space and how to know how much lighting to put into a space and where to put it, and intricacies of different light bulbs. And for a lot of people in the class, it was actually like completely over their heads. And they were like, I have no idea what's going on.
Okay.
And that's when I was like, oh my gosh, like this is both. This is
Right.
both. This is the creative and it's the technical. And I just fell in love with it. So I started taking classes in AutoCAD at the Boston Architectural College on the weekends and in the evenings. And my husband thought I was crazy.
I mean, it sounds like you were extremely motivated.
Yeah, I was.
I mean, to not really know where it was going and to
no
decide
idea.
I'm going to drive hours, take classes, do presentations, all on top of my, sounds like very busy, demanding corporate job. Yeah.
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 And then when Gillette was acquired by Procter & Gamble, a lot of the jobs moved to Cincinnati. And I just kind of, it was just the timing was right. I felt like it was a calling. And we had already been thinking about kind of moving back down to the Philadelphia area, which is closer to where my husband and I grew up.
Okay.
So it was just kind of all roads colliding. And I kind of jumped in and took a leap of faith and decided to get my master's in interior architecture and design, which was another 3-year intensive program.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then did you finish that work here in this area or?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I graduated from Drexel.
Okay. And
with my
so,
master's.
okay, so you come here and you do the whole program, and this is after a lot of schooling for engineering as well. And then you decide you're going to open your own company.
Right.
How do you come to that decision?
Right. Well, when I left to go back to school, I had already been working for 12 years. So it wasn't, I had a lot of experience. When I left Gillette, I was working in a $20 million budget for a $1 billion brand. So I had so much experience through consulting and project management and working with third-party vendors, controlling budgets. So I really, through those experiences and also through the education and the work experience I had within interior design within Philadelphia, I realized how much of my skills from my previous career I could really leverage into starting an interior design business. And it wasn't ultimately the goal to start my interior design business, or I wasn't 100% sure that that was going to be the goal. But at the time when I made that decision, I was pregnant with my second child. And honestly, for what I was kind of bringing home financially, it was costing our family money for me to work between like the childcare and gas and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, I can do better financially on my own, but more importantly, I had gained the confidence to be able to leverage all of my collective skills and put it together to create this business.
So when you created the business, day one, how do you start getting your clients? Did you have relationships in place already? Was it kind of like, let me just go out there and see what happens? I mean, what did you do?
Well, you're going to love the answer to this. Networking.
That's what I was hoping the answer was. Yeah.
Of course, I mean, you tap into your personal network first. But yeah, you've just got to get out there and just start networking.
Yeah.
And
did you send something out saying, hey, by the way, I started this business?
I sent a note to kind of family and friends.
Okay.
And, I got like a couple little people interested. I mean, I really didn't expect much of it, but it was still just a way to put it out there and just tap into my existing network. I started reading a lot of books, prior to that, and while I was pregnant, I was reading a lot of books about starting a business and, just trying to understand specifically to starting an interior design business. And really, I think in one of the books I had read just about entrepreneurship and starting a business, it said, you should go to 10 networking events a month.
Right.
And I was like, okay, yeah, I'll do that. Like, I'll start there. That seems like a good place to start. Meanwhile, I have like 2 little kids at home and a husband that travels, but I did it. And, and it just starts kind of growing exponentially. You start going to networking events and then you start meeting other people and you kind of start honing in on kind of those strategic partners and the people that you meet, and then listening to what organizations that they're involved with or what networking events they go to.
Yeah.
And then it starts kind of growing and kind of coming into place very naturally once you just go out there and start doing it.
Yeah, that's actually one of my favorite questions. People are always asking about when you go to networking events, like what can you ask people? And I love asking people where else they network because not only does it open a great conversation, you always learn something.
Always.
There's always, no matter how much networking you do, there's always something out there you don't know about that could be potentially interesting or beneficial or for your business or both.
Right.
So I love asking people about that. And then, the more you do, obviously, the more people you're going to meet, the more places to go. So, but it's a hustle. It's definitely a hustle.
It is. And there's days that I love it and there's days that honestly I don't, but it's part of the business.
It is.
And it's great. Because I love meeting new people. And I think to kind of even take your point another step further, I ask them what organizations that they're involved with, but also why they like them.
Exactly.
Because I think that I'm trying to understand who are the other members of that organization. Does that seem like a good fit for the type of work that I'm doing, the type of clients that I want to get, the type of strategic partners that I want to make? So
I think that's so important because I know when I first started my business, I didn't really think like that. I think a lot of people when they start businesses, the idea is just, I need to get out there. Let me just get out there. Wherever I go, it's good. I'm just out here, But then you start kind of refining it more and exactly what you're saying, kind of thinking about, well, is this the right event for me to be at? Is this where I should be spending my time and my resources? Am I meeting the right people? Am I targeting the right client group? And all of the stuff that you were saying, I think, is really important for people to start to think about. There is that level, I think, when you first start a business where it is about sort of getting out there, especially if you're not somebody that's comfortable with networking. Kind of, practice makes perfect. The more you get out there, the more comfortable you'll be with it. But at some point, you need to kind of pull it in and say, what's going to be the most beneficial for where I want to be.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So one of the things I noticed kind of going through, your website and a lot of things I looked at about your business is sustainability seems to be something that's really a priority for you. And, obviously in society in general. But I think there's a lot of us out there that aren't living like a fully sustainable green life, but you want to make those small changes. So, first of all, why is it so important to you? And then what's something that people can do, to kind of make one more step towards living kind of a greener, more sustainable life?
Right. I mean, why it's important is kind of why not? I mean, it's just the right thing to do. And really, I started getting more involved with sustainability through my master's. and through my graduate thesis.
Was that on sustainability?
That was focused on designing a green building.
Okay.
And through that, it's actually kind of an interesting story. I got connected to a person that we ended up co-founding a nonprofit called the Sustainability Nexus. And are you familiar with that organization?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we started in 2011. There was 3 co-founders, and really the objective of that organization and the mission is to essentially coalesce all of the sustainable organizations within the local Philadelphia area. I mean, there's definitely thousands of organizations that are in this area, and they're not talking to each other. And the concept is that bringing those people together through exposing them to resources and workshops will help them advance their missions at a more accelerated rate.
And how has that worked out?
Well, it's been great. So part of that, now kind of our hub of that, is I'm also co-owner of a co-working space in Philadelphia at 2401 Walnut.
Okay.
And our members have some connection to sustainability. It's not necessarily just in the built environment, not necessarily just real estate or design. And through that space, we're able to offer kind of those workshops and those we have a meetup group that meets there, and really kind of start connecting and networking.
Yeah,
kind of
wonderful.
The environmental and social movements. And it's been doing phenomenally well, and we're actually opening up a second location.
Oh, I had no idea.
Next year, I know.
Where's the second location?
I don't think I can say yet.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Got
that
it. Under wraps. So we'll have some news to promote later.
Like official to announce, but
will it be? Well, maybe I don't know if you can answer this. Will it be in the suburbs somewhere? Will it be downtown, or you still can't?
It will be outside of Center City.
Outside of Center City. Okay, that's wonderful. Yeah. Yeah. So what about like a small change that kind of your everyday person can make?
I think there's probably 2 things: is stopping your junk mail.
Okay.
And stop using water bottle, the kind of individual plastic water bottles.
Okay. Okay. And I guess the light bulbs too was a big one, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of efficiencies now with light bulbs, and if we get into some of the other projects, I can kind of even talk about some exciting things that I'm doing related to that.
Okay, all right. Well, yeah, I just learned a lot I didn't know, which is great, and yeah, that's awesome. So, what about you've done some really cool projects. Do you have a favorite one that you've worked on? I know one of the more recent ones you've worked on has been an amazing restaurant. I want to make sure I get the name right, which I don't need to look.
Yeah, 59 Alms House in Richboro.
And I saw the pictures and everything, and I know that was a long, ongoing project for you. And it seems like it came together super well. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah.
So that project is in Richboro, and we took a restaurant that used to exist there. So it had the commercial kitchen. It's about 3,500 square feet. It's a pretty big space. We ended up practically leveling the front third of the building, and building this scissor truss, like barn-inspired structure that's 17 feet high.
Oh wow!
And it has a bar, a main dining room, an outside bar, outside dining, a second dining room, and a chef's table room that's used for private functions, and an opportunity for the customers that come there to interact with the chef. With any project, but especially with commercial project, for me, it's really about that marriage of function, beauty, and branding.
Yeah.
So we spend a lot of time in the beginning to really understand, what's the concept for the space. Not just aesthetically, but how they want people to feel when they walk in, what's going to be on the menu.
Right.
To develop a cohesive design that is reflective of their brand. I mean, that's really, really important. And the concept was refined farm.
Okay.
And so it's a little bit more tailored, and some rustic elements with a little bit of industrial metal accents. And the space turned out beautifully. I mean,
just the pictures I saw were fabulous.
It's great. It was a fun project.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love, the idea of having that private space where people can interact with a chef. I think increasingly that's something people really look for with culinary, experiences at restaurants and things like that. They want that experiential kind of situation. It's not just about having the food. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, the fact that you guys had the, thought to do that, ahead of time so that there'd be that designated space for it,
right,
I think is probably going to work out really well for the restaurant.
Great.
Yeah.
And the thing about this project that was so great too, and some of the larger projects, is it really does become a collaboration. So even though I'm there as the interior designer, we're all kind of putting our heads together and thinking about the best utilization for the space and what activities can function. And Trying to get creative because it was a big, expansive space that they're probably not going to fill all of the time.
Okay.
So one of my goals in laying out the space plan for it was to think about how rooms could be combined, maybe for private events, or things could be kind of shut off when they don't need to and maybe rented out to larger luncheons or even a small wedding reception. And so just trying to think about the flexibility of the space.
Yeah, that's so cool. So, I read a Mainline Times, I guess it was a Mainline Today article that featured you, and you said good taste has a lot to do with knowing how to curate and then edit. And, the question I came up with around that quote is I think one that's personally meaningful to me as well, because I think my husband would definitely call me a hoarder. And, I tend to bring things in and just think, well, I brought it in because it's cool. Like, I liked it, so I bought it. And he's like, well, where's it going to go? And, like, what are you going to do with it? And do you have an idea of, you bought this piece of art, do we have a place to hang it? Well, I didn't think about that. I like it, So I was thinking about, you personally, of course, I mean, I know with your clients, you obviously give a lot of thought to these kinds of issues, but in your own personal house, how do you decide, what kind of objects are the right ones to bring in at the right time? Do you always think about how they're going to fit into your space first or where they're going to go? Do you ever just buy something because you like it? Like, I'm just curious.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, well, I think it's just my engineering background. I'm a planner. I'm a type A planner, so I'm always thinking, okay, where is this going to go?
Yeah.
But there are things that I've, just fallen in love with and that I've just purchased, and I say, well, we'll figure it out.
Right.
I'm not in my forever house now either, so I always think, okay, someday, I'll find a place for this. But yeah, I think it's an evolution, and I think your home should be an evolution.
Yeah.
If it's static, then you're going to probably kind of tire of it. And I like to move little things around and maybe pack something up and put something out again later on. Or you get something as a present and you really love it, so you exchange it out for something else, and you can kind of rotate through some of your home accessories. But yeah, I like to plan things out, and I'm kind of really looking at scale and proportion. And as a designer, even in my clients' homes, but also in my own space, I'm really thinking about balance and how is everything working together to kind of achieve that balance.
I'm curious, do you have any collections of anything?
I do. Do I have any collections of anything? I don't really have any collections. I don't.
Yeah.
No.
I kind of thought you would answer no. Yeah. I was just curious.
I want to. I feel like I want to have a collection.
Yeah, because I feel like that's like a major commitment. You see people say, "Oh, I collect tea kettles and I have 30 of them and I've had them sitting here for 25 years." And, based on what you're saying with kind of changing up the aesthetic and the space and changing out objects, like I felt like you probably would say no to that, but I was curious.
Right. Yeah, no, I don't.
So shifting gears, I know you sit on the board of advisors for the Mainline chapter of Fox Chase Cancer. And, which is a wonderful way to give back to the community. And I know you guys have your big event coming up in the spring, so I'd love for you to tell our viewers about that.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So our event is March 5th, and it's at the Baldwin School. And it's called Night for the Fight, and it's really our signature event, our big fundraiser for the Mainline chapter of Board of Associates for Fox Chase. And the tickets are $150. And it includes an open bar, dancing, a dessert, and full sit-down meal. There's a silent auction, and we always have tons of great items. Last year, as you know, we had it in the middle of the worst snowstorm in Philadelphia last year, and we were still able to raise over $30,000. So this year, our expectations are obviously much, much greater. And if you want to find information out about it, I just direct people to our Facebook page. The easiest way to find it is to just type in Mainline Fox Chase. Our Facebook page will come up, and tickets will be available to purchase through our Facebook page.
Yeah, it was such a fun event last year. And, considering it was the first year that you guys were in existence and you were contending with such poor weather, and it was still such a successful and fun event, and you raised so much money. So, I can't even imagine how much bigger and better this year will be.
Yeah, every year it's going to get better. But no, I'm super excited for the one in March. It's going to be a really fun evening.
Yeah, I'm excited. And it's a great cause. So, another thing that we're both involved with is an organization called Femfessionals. And for people who don't know what that is, it's a women's networking organization that's actually national, but there's a chapter here in the Philadelphia area called Fem City Philadelphia. And we both, in the last couple months, I guess, were put on the new board. And one thing that you've been really involved in, which I think is a great marriage of kind of your networking and marketing and relationship building, as well as your expertise in your business, and I want to get the name right, is the Catherine Toomey House?
Correct, yeah, the Toomey House.
Yeah, and so that's a house that is involved with Femfessionals. We do a charity or nonprofit of the year, and we try to really focus our efforts on one nonprofit for an entire year span to try to make more of an impact. And this year, that nonprofit has been Home of the Sparrow, and the Catherine Toomey House is part of that nonprofit. So tell us about what you've been doing with that.
Yeah, that's been such a fun and rewarding project to be involved with. The house is going to ultimately house 6 women in need that are in transition.
Okay.
And the first part of the project was to essentially get apartment 1 up and completely finished. So the space is being gutted. I mean, you know, down the electrical, the plumbing, everything is being redone in the space. And we got apartment 1 up, and it's really being used as a model to kind of show other people that are interested in getting involved what our intentions and the plan is for the rest of the apartments in the space. And I help them with some of the space planning and furniture sizing and furniture placement of things in that unit. I've also been working with them on material selections, plumbing selections for kitchens and bathrooms, and then right now I'm actively involved in the 3rd floor. It's currently now set up as one large apartment.
Okay.
And we would like to be able to have 2 women stay there. And so I laid out a couple of different floor plan options for them, and we've been kind of talking about the best layout that's going to meet the goals for the house and really for the women that are going to be there. And I think we've actually landed on one of the options that I presented them. So
that's great.
I've been involved in that way. And then the other way I've been involved is really just tapping into my network, my vendors, to secure donations that are needed for the home. And it's been amazing just how many people have come forward and just given things completely in kind. You know, not even discounted pricing, just here, I'll donate custom cabinetry, flooring, plumbing. It's just really, really been amazing that, you know, when you ask what you get.
Right.
You know.
And that's, you know, I think a lot of times, you know, people either don't have the network and the relationships, or even if they do, they don't want to ask. And, you know, you don't want to ask people all the time, but, you know, this is a great situation where people can really feel like they're helping out the community, and you want to make that ask, and people have totally come forward and come through for it.
It's great, you know. And I give them a little bit of background about why I'm volunteering my time personally and you know, get people excited about the project. So
yeah. So tell me about something, you know, where by the time the show ends, we'll be at the end of the year, the beginning of 2016. Anything that's on the horizon for you from a non-business standpoint? Anything on your bucket list or a personal goal for next year?
Yeah, I mean, so I've had the fortune of being able to travel a lot globally before we had kids, and I was an adrenaline junkie. I went skydiving, I went cage diving with great white sharks in South Africa.
Wow.
So my bucket list now is a little bit more low-key.
Okay. I guess after doing all that, yeah.
Now that I have 2 children, you know, I want to go to Yellowstone National Park. My goal for next year is to run Broad Street. I was training for the Boston Marathon in 2007 and ended up having pretty substantial surgery on my foot.
Yeah.
And it was a really, I mean, I'm sure that you know better than I do. It's just been such a long recovery.
I understand.
And I took the marathon off my bucket list because I just don't want to ever have to go through, I'm so scared of getting injured again. So I feel like Broad Street is a good attainable goal for me. I just started getting back into running this year.
Yep.
And I feel like it's a rite of passage if you live in Philadelphia. You know, you kind of have to just check that box.
I am hoping I'll be right there in May doing it with you. I'm
that would
waiting
be
for
great.
the clearance from my doctor. I just tried to do a 5K for Alex's Lemonade, and I'm really hoping that I can be out there. That's a part of my bucket list as well.
Yeah.
I really want to do the Broad Street. So
we'll do it
hopefully
together.
we'll be out together. Yeah, that's an awesome goal. So tell people how that they can reach you, you know, your personal information, and then anything you want to tell about Fox Chase as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the best place to reach me is really to start with my website, which is glennastone.com. I'm also really active on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Houzz. As you know, on Facebook, I do my Tip Tuesdays
Yes,
and
I'm glad you mentioned
Thursdays.
that. Yeah, it's a great thing to follow.
Where I really just try to offer, you know, some professional quick tips and advice to give people some insight into things that they can personally do, and also just, you know, what's hot right now and what some of the trends are that I'm seeing. So that's just a fun thing to follow.
That is really fun.
And I also have, for people that kind of want to keep in touch with what's going on in the design world, I have an email publication that I send out just 12 times a year, just once a month. It's not spamming anyone's boxes. You can sign up either on my Facebook page or through my website.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, thank you for having me. This was so fun.
Yeah, I told you it would be. So thank you so much for watching this episode, and we'll see you next time.